we must be willing to tighten our belts and not have the things we used to have. Well,
this would have a double meaning. One of the meaning would be that you just go hungry. So you don't have enough food, you get skinny, so you have to tighten your belts. And this would refer to austerity measures. So for an example, a company, they have to reduce their costs because they're losing money, so they would need to tighten their belts. Or similarly, in the government, they may have reduced tax revenues, so they have to lay people off. Again, tighten their belts. Or oftentimes, if someone in a family, they lose their job, they have to be able to survive on reduced income. The other idea of tighten your belt refers to the military, and they would typically have lots of different belts holding on different things, guns, bullets, grenades. And when they're walking around, the belts would tend to be sort of loose, more comfortable. But when they go into battle, they have to tighten the belts. So it means to brace yourself for a difficult task.
When a commander says tighten your belts to the soldiers, and also another expression, get ready for action, is to buckle up.
Is to buckle up, right. And that also has a double meaning. It can mean to get ready for action. It can also mean to try to reach a higher level of ability.
when I got there, I realized that I was racking my brain so much for facts and figures on whatever subject we were talking about that I knew I didn't do well.
That means to try to get an answer where you don't remember what something is. Like, I was racking my brain to try to remember that person's name, or I had to rack my brain to be able to learn calculus, a difficult mental task. So in this case, racking refers to wrecking or destroying. So also called brain damage.
You can wreck your car, right?
You can rack your car, right? And it could, the spelling could be either way, either R-A-C-K or W-R-A-C-K. You can rack your car, yes. It means you got into an accident of some type.
And also a wrecking ball.
That would be a wrecking ball.
Wrecking ball.
That would be W-R-E-C-K.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be a large ball that they use to destroy buildings.
I mean, I never thought about it coming out. That was really off the top of my head.
Yeah. That means to say something almost as soon as you think of it. And generally it would be considered positive if somebody asks you a question and then you give them the right answer immediately. So you could say, off the top of my head, I don't have an answer for you. Or, off the top of my head, I think the answer might be this. And also you may notice that when people speak spontaneously, oftentimes they'll actually touch their head and when they speak. So it's not just figurative. It's not just figuratively. It can also be literally as well. And basically it means to improvise.
Right. Just like they say, if someone is touching his or her nose, they're probably lying.
Yeah, where the body language imitates the idea that somebody is trying to say, yeah.
And one of the newspaper men who was kind of honchoing the whole debate on his microphone called on the man.
A honcho refers to a high-level boss. So honchoing would be someone who acts in a bossy manner, or maybe they lord over, or they dominate, or they hog something in a self-aggrandizing way. And then a honcho, I originally thought it was Spanish, but it turns out it's Japanese for boss.
Or a squad leader.
Or a squad leader, right. So after the Second World War, when American soldiers occupied Japan for a number of years, they happened to notice the Japanese people talking about honchos, so they borrowed the word and it became part of American English.
Now, I've been told that this is all off the record and that the cameras are all off. Is that right? Huh? I was told that because I've been waiting years to do this.
More so back in the olden days than today, but politicians typically would meet with people from the media, newspaper reporters, and they would talk about things in a very honest way. But it was understood that the newspaper reporters were not going to say that they said what they said. So they would say this is off the record, or they would, if they didn't want them to say something, or they could say this is on the record, and that means it was okay for the media to report what they said. Yeah,
Basically, the idea is it shouldn't be recorded. I will give you this information, but you should stop the camera or you should turn off your
tape recorder.
Your tape recorder.
That's a very good way to look at it.
You know, you don't have to spend much time in Washington to appreciate the prophetic vision of the man who designed all the streets there.
A prophet was somebody from the Bible who claimed to speak for God. So they had true prophets and they had false prophets. And the true prophets, that's taken as the word of God. And they would deliver prophecy, which was their interpretation of the future, typically. You can also have fortune tellers. They're able to prophesize or give prophecies about what is supposedly going to happen. The Greeks used to talk about oracles. These were people with similar abilities. Oftentimes, the answers that they would give were more symbolic than they were real. So it was important to be able to interpret what they said, and oftentimes what they said had double meanings as well. So a prophetic vision would be a vision where there's some interpretation involved in trying to figure out what the vision actually means.
Well, or also prophetic vision would be a vision that at the time seemed to be exotic and unusual, but later in 100, 200 years it turned out to be true and it was realized, right?
Exactly. You could
say someone who sees and can predict the future. So
right. Exactly. Good example there would be science fiction. Okay, Jules Verne, he came up with the idea of the submarine, and then 30 or 40 years later, they invented the submarine. So he thought of it before they even invented it.
And the most famous and well-known prophet is?
Nostradamus, right. You could say in Wall Street, they like to say, he is no Nostradamus, but he is pretty good.
Okay. So that's all for today. And Tom is ESL teacher. He teaches English in the United States and all over the world using Skype. And you can be reached at your website, which is
ESL-Full Speed Ahead.
So you can click on this link and check out his website and email him with questions. Okay, thank you, Tom, and I'll talk to you next time.
Okay, thank you.